In just a few moments, you'll join in to the Progressional System community, where you will experience the power of collective intelligence. You'll learn the strategies of identifying your goals, developing your plan of attack, creating milestones of achievement, build your vision, declare your future, while experiencing the rewards that only come from group-moderated affirmation. Now, let's join your host, visionary leader, David Jones, an experienced personal and business developer, a catalyst for change, equipping individuals and entrepreneurs to dominate with power.
You gotta get in your future before it is now.
Also, Marcus Murray, leading teams of thousands to life-changing concepts, demonstrating an extraordinary track record of success in business with a master's degree in leadership.
Don't look at your gift and say, oh, this is no big deal. Yeah, I'm able to do this incredibly well, but that's no big. It is a big deal.
Now, let's welcome the founders of Progressional and creators of MBTS, the Mind and Behavioral Transformation System, David Jones and Marcus Murray.
Wow, Dave, I like it. I like it. Well, we want to welcome you, man. It's so good to see everybody. And I'm certain that, we're fresh off the battlefield. Success is not an easy thing, and it actually comes with work. One of the things that we want to cover today are some of the concepts that are necessary to literally 10x your success. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Regardless of the industry, regardless of the area that you're working on, we believe that you're going to get exposed to some life-changing information. Now, I may as well put the sword down for now so that we can get to work. But I got to say, welcome, David. How are you, sir?
Man, I am terrific, man. It's so good to see you and everybody here, man. Good to be here.
Likewise. Yeah. So what's the temperature down there in Texas?
It was maybe 60 right now. I think the high is going to be 70, 72 today. So we're experienced. I don't understand it, but I love it, right?
Nice, nice. Because right now we're in the middle of a blizzard. So welcome to Michigan,
Right.
So Dave, from our last session, there were so many emails that came in, so many questions. And that's really good because it's the emails and the questions that allow us to shape the content.
Yeah.
Remember, this is all preliminary. So the Progressional Global Community is in preparation for the introduction of the MBTS software, which is going to be online very shortly in just a little while. It is literally the game changer in being able to 10x and multiply your success. So from the questions that came in, David, there were some questions that people had that were really good. And one of them was about you. So I thought that we would share this question so that you can answer it. And hopefully people that are listening will get some great benefit from it. One of the questions basically said, David, you've been in business for a number of years. The question that I have for you is, what is a valuable life lesson that you have learned in your business experience?
Wow, great question. Well, there's several lessons that I've learned, but probably the biggest lesson has to do with, this is a powerful word, focus. Right. So at one of the higher points of my past, but I was very ambitious, had a lot of resources, a lot of access to capital. And with that ambition and zealousness, this is what I didn't know. I was attacking so many different opportunities that was in front of me, everything from real estate to auto body collision shops to building restaurants. I was just, how do I make this money work? How do I work as the entrepreneur? And it was the gift and the crutch, the gift to do more, the gift to be more. But what I didn't understand at the time is putting too much emphasis on too many different things caused what we say is distraction. So I was distracted and pulled in several different directions and never nailed down any one of them solid enough for them to sustain themselves, for it to run its own operation, or the team that was in place to sustain it, that it will multiply and scale up. And so all of us are big thinkers on this call. All of us are want to have a next level of revision, The thing is, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to take your focus off the end goal. And when you do that, you find out, what I found out was a lot of those things that would have worked had they had the right attention, they all begin to fall flat. And so it was a very, very, very expensive lesson that if you could just take heed to it, the power of focusing on what you're doing until it, I heard Robert Kiyosaki explain focus like this, and it was an acronym: follow one course until successful. So focus is, if you're on a journey, you have to follow that course until it is successful enough to maintain itself, and you will save yourself a lot of heartache.
Wow, that is good. That's good. Follow one course until successful. Huh. Bro, that is a great answer. I've got to ask you another question, since we've got a moment to talk about the software, because we were going to take a second to talk about the development, the stage of development that we're in, and to really talk about the power of the MBTS software system. What would you say is going to be one of the greatest benefits that people will have getting an opportunity to use this software?
That was a couple of them, but the first and foremost is being able to actually declutter your mind. And if you currently have a vision or you don't have a vision, being able to put it down on paper. And once you get that thing, because that is a universal principle, that is how you're supposed to do it. Once you write a vision and you make it plain enough to not only be understood by yourself, but those that you will be called to, it's easier to run in that direction. It's easier to facilitate the process. So with the software, the impetus that's creating the movement of the journey is identifying the journey in a specific area in your life, being able to get clear on what the picture of that journey is, and the AI will help you answer the right questions that we're going to give you. Because sometimes we don't even know the questions to ask ourselves. So it's going to help you to answer these questions by asking you the right questions. And once you're able to answer all of your own questions, you will clearly have the vision. And so now, if you stay committed to the vision, if you stay committed to it, and that's what the software will do by helping you with affirmations, helping you with other things that we work on, that you'll see once you get it, if you stay with it long enough, it will produce itself. And so I'm excited about that.
Wow, that's good stuff. Now, one of the things that you did in the past, you were an administrator over a company that launched, I think that was back in Michigan, and it was one of the largest companies in its sector, in a portion of the educational arena. You guys were able to do multiple millions of dollars per year. What was that like? Because that's kind of one of the driving forces that kind of locked you into personal development and life coaching, right?
Correct. Well, it was like, on the business side of it, it was extremely fun, because I got to play the entrepreneur role where I didn't have to be responsible for everything. My assignment was to orchestrate a lot of the things. And so when you're in a position that you can not have the weight of being responsible for everything, you can kind of help facilitate the process. So the development that I had in my business acumen came from that opportunity, working within a family organization, that I could see people's gifts and pull them in to handle the gifts that they were good at. And once all these things are orchestrated properly, it's able to scale. And that's kind of one of the topics that we're going to talk on a day a little later, in the solopreneur concept. What I was learning is, once you have your team right, the right people in the right seats, you will see a lot of the frustrations that most of us have that are in business or trying to increase. It's not because of our inability as much as it is our lack of understanding of what actually needs to be in place to scale.
Wow, that's good. So one of the things that we just experienced this past week when we were interviewing a very successful gentleman, so you and I, and these interviews will be available for everyone that's a part of the global community. You'll be able to go onto the website and you'll be able to access these amazing video interviews. One of them was with a gentleman that's an extraordinary musical success. He's played in Carnegie Hall, and actually he shared that he sold out Carnegie Hall twice, which is the accomplishment of a lifetime. During that time, and this kind of leads us into the teaching, we have 3 different topics that we're going to cover, and we've kind of broken them up so that you can get bite-sized pieces and actually have something to take away and begin to implement. But this gentleman was talking about something that I have never, I at that point had only heard of it one other time, and it was amazing. And it was about imposter syndrome. I didn't even know that was a thing, imposter syndrome, but apparently it is a thing. And so, David, if you just take a second to just kind of break down imposter syndrome and how the business owners on this call and people that are striving to achieve success, what is imposter syndrome and how can they conquer it?
Great question. All right, look, this is the lesson I want to get into. Isaac, if you could allow me to screen share, I'm gonna jump into my lesson. So as we get this together, type in the chat, yes or no. How many of you have heard of this concept, imposter syndrome? All right, yes or no. And then the next thing I want you to ask, have any of you ever suffered or know someone who's suffering from this imposter syndrome? All right, good. All right. So I think I may be able to share my screen. Let me know when I'm able to, but I'm just going to keep on moving. All right. So let me define it for you. Let me define imposter. Now, there's 2 types that I want to go over, right? So if you are an imposter, right, let's say you're in a position that you can't fulfill on a particular promise, but you still desire to take the benefit, then that's what you call an actual imposter. And that's not what we're going to kind of help with. But there's another concept with this imposter syndrome that you'll find it becomes the enemy that's in front of you. It's where you're feeling like a fraud, despite that you actually have evidence or ability or confidence or accomplishments that you have already had. So if you feel like you know that you can do it, but at the same time you're hesitant or you're reluctant to move, or you feel like your ideas are not worthy of the attention, the appraise, or a favorable outcome. You know what I'm saying? That's a syndrome. That is what we call a dragon. That is an attack. So let me give you my personal story where I actually experienced this reality. Okay, so it looks like I can share now. 1 second. So here we are. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the imposter. We don't want to be the fake. We don't want to be the phony, and we don't want to be the fraud. So really quickly, I want to give you pretty much my lesson. There was one time, even when I started, because there's different phases all of us have throughout our life. And one point in time, I was trying to go into this coaching scenario. And when I was going into coaching, obviously you have to start. And as a life coach, you know, there's different qualifications, there are different standards that are set outside of you. Let me see if I can close my screen share actually at this moment, because I want to come back and see you guys. 1 second here. This looks like I'm having a little difficulty. Okay. So I'm gonna have to move. Can you stop my screen share if possible? Okay. Okay, great. So we're just gonna abandon that. Okay, so in my struggle, so what happened was I had an encounter to where my first client was actually a physician. And there was this thing that went on off in my head, like, okay, so if it's a physician, then I need to know more than I know. I need to be qualified. Maybe I need to be certified. And I was to the position like, why does my first client have to be some that I have a high esteem from? At least that was the picture that was in my head. And so it caused an inhibition. And the problem was, it wasn't that I didn't have evidence of wanting to help people break through a certain situation, because that's what I did all of my life. I've always been in a position that if you had a problem, I was resourceful enough to help you break through that issue. And so when it came to this, the thought, the mindset that was stopping me was, you're not qualified enough. And so I challenged everything. So my thoughts, my ideas at the time seemed like they were worthy of a favorable return, a favorable resource. Maybe they shouldn't pay for what I have. And so that was the imposter syndrome. That is what you call a lie. That's what you call a dragon. And our goal is to slay this concept, because the truth is that you are what you say you are. And if you are focusing on your mind on the thing that may be the lack that's in your life, the thing that you don't have, oh, I need to go get this qualification or this certification, I need to read this one more book before I just go, then you're held in a position that you can't move forward. And so this is what I'm offering. You have to say what you are to yourself. And what you have to understand is, in the process of going to that next level, wherever it is, whether you're starting something new or you're going to that next level in what you're already doing, the next level, you have to just be it. There's a process. There's be, there's do, and there's have. The first part is be, where you be even before you start doing. Why? Because you have to believe it. You have to be it in your mind. You have to be it in your vision, because the future, or the desired preferred future, is a reality now. And all you got to do, and all I'm going to challenge all of us to do in our next stage up, is be married to the faith that if you keep going in the direction of what you see, of your preferred future, that it will become natural or physical, but in the internal, in the intangible, that I already am what I am, because I said that's who I am. And so we have to be careful what lie maybe we believe, or what person or what institution has given us a metric to give us a scale to disqualify us, right? Who is telling us that we're not qualified? Who has told you that you can't go forward to do that next thing that you want or you desire to do? So we have to pull that negative mind that our mind is set on and get a new idea. And so what I realized, going back to my story, because I had appointment that was booked to me, my first client. And once I got in there, it was one of the easiest things that I ever encountered, because I was able to attack the issues. They were normal. So the perception of things being bigger than they were was all a lie. It was all fear. It was all false evidence appearing real in my mind. Once I got in there, my ability, my capability, my history, my evidence of past success begin to flow out of me, and we begin to break the barriers that were hindering that particular physician from where they were going, right? And so if you had weapons, so I can wrap this up, if you want to write some of these down, the three things that I want you to understand is, one, you have to trust the power that's already in you. Trust the vision of your preferred future. If that's a skill, if that's a destination, you are it because you are being it as you become it. You have to start the journey and walk the direction. Instead of saying imposter syndrome, I'm going to give you progressional syndrome. We're always progressing. We're always progressing. Trust in your evidence. That's number two. Trust in the evidence that is inside of you, the accomplishments that you already had, the desire to solve a problem for someone else. And then the last weapon I want to give you to slay this giant is to embrace imperfect action. Every time you go and do anything, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay to go with imperfect action. Imperfect action is the thing that get movers and shakers over and separate us, because we can go even when we're not fully prepared. And what happens is you'll learn as you go. You get better the second time around. And so that's how you overcome imposter syndrome.
Wow, that is so good. Just in the chat, if you got anything out of that, just say that was so good. That is just amazing. One of the things that we found, my wife and I have been in business together, LaDonna and I, for now 30 years. And over the course of 30 years, we've been able to experience some amazing, amazing accomplishments. And everyone that I've spoken to and people that have asked me about it, they've asked, like, how did we do it? And trust that it's these simple understandings, just a different understanding along the way. Like each day I wake up, I'm believing that I'm going to receive some new beneficial information, and that information is going to transform the trajectory that we've set. And that's how we have to live, with expectancy. So my area that I'm going to cover really quick is just a simple concept that is, in my opinion, the game changer of being able to literally accelerate your success. But before I get to it, because that thing is called accountability. That's what my topic is, accountability. But I want to share with you that in the season that we're in 2024, I heard a wonderful, wonderful teaching, and it was just really kind of setting the stage for what we could expect in this year. With us only being 45 days in, this is a wonderful opportunity now to reset, recalibrate, and get back on purpose and get back on task. But this is the year of open doors. And I was thinking about this concept of open doors. You know, so often in business and in life and just in general, you run into all of these walls, these barriers, these things that seem to be obstacles. The biggest thing is a wall. You run into a wall and you just don't know what to do. So I wanted to share that when you face a wall, don't be alarmed. That is a good sign. That means you are actually going in the right direction. And that is almost counterintuitive, because if you hit a wall, it's almost like it's an obstacle. But in reality, it's not an obstacle, because remember, wherever there is a wall, it takes a wall to hold up what? A door. A wall is necessary for a door. So there's a book that I read often that talks about seeking and finding. You have to be looking for something if you're going to find it. So when you run into a wall, almost look at it like we're in the dark. We can't see for a moment. What do you do when you hit a wall and you're in the dark? You put your hands on it and you begin to do what? Feel for the door. When you hit a wall, it's because there is a door nearby. Don't give up when you hit the wall. Just continue to feel for the door. If you've been given an idea, a breakthrough concept, if it's inside of you that this year is going to be the year that you quantum leap, that you do what you've never done before, you've got to know that the wall is coming, but there's a door connected to that wall. Now, my specific topic is embracing accountability. Why is that important? We're right now in a society, Dave, and you see it all the time. People do not want to be accountable. It's almost like the culture has created this concept that accountability is offensive. If you want me to be accountable to you, then I have to look at you and say, who do you think you are that I should be accountable to you? So what you're going to begin to notice as we go on this journey together, usually everything correct has been inverted and turned into an opposite. So in reality, accountability actually makes you stronger, because in order to be accountable to a person, you actually have to give them the power of accountability. It's so amazing. If they're going to hold you accountable, you have given them the power and the permission to hold you accountable, which actually makes you stronger. I'll give you an example. Being married 30 years, I am accountable to my wife. That means that if LaDonna, like half of the things that I'm doing, it's so that I can show her, or I report to her. I actually report to her and tell her what I'm doing. And then what's interesting about it, she's able to give me insight and extra guidance. It's the same in business. If you have a business partner, you want to make yourself accountable. It's the same if you're in an employment situation. Think about this. A person that owns a business, when they're looking for a person to promote, before my wife and I were business owners, we were employees. If you are in the capacity of an employee, you want to think like an employer thinks. So the employer that's employing the employee is thinking, who can I trust with the next level of leadership? Who can I trust to do this next thing and reward them accordingly? Well, in order to identify that person, you start looking at who are the people that accept accountability, who are the people that report and have made themselves accountable to you. So one of the keys, this has been one of the biggest things for me throughout my life, is always making myself accountable. It is a sign of strength. So in every area, for example, if you're a part of the family reunion and then you have a reunion, a family reunion coordinator, and you've agreed to bring this, this, and this, make yourself accountable to that person so that they can ask you, hey, are you ready? Did you get everything together for this event? Likewise, if it's in business, if it's just achieving your own personal goal, what you want to do is find someone that you honor, that you respect, and then allow them to hold you accountable. One of the things, for example, when you set your goals, you say, I want to achieve this, this, and this year. Someone has to hold you accountable. If no one holds you accountable, then it's almost like the bumper rails in a bowling alley. The bumper rails keep the ball from going into the gutter. Accountability is like the bumper rails or the bumper guards that allow your goals to stay on track. It is a powerful, powerful tool, and it opens the door to greater advancement, greater achievement, more responsibility. And all it is a simple thing, making yourself accountable. Does that make sense? Put it in the chat if accountability makes sense. And then, David, we had one more topic that we wanted to cover. And I guess I'm going to turn it back over to you for that one.
All right, good. That was awesome. Accountability. Yes. Yes, I love that. All right. So the third topic, and then we're going to jump into how we're going to interact with these concepts. So I hope you guys are taking notes, right? The third concept, and these are all pulled from some of us responded in these emails, and these topics are built based upon what you guys in the community are looking for. And so the solopreneur dilemma. How do we end the solopreneur dilemma? Now, for many of us who don't understand it, solopreneur is kind of like a derivation of entrepreneurship, right? And so because many of us are leaving work and going into this place that we're doing it on our own. And some of us on this call are in that position. So you're a solopreneur. So let me ask the question. Have any of you who's endeavoring down this road ever felt overwhelmed with what you are doing or what you are building? Answer in the chat, yes or no. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by what you're building or what you're doing? All right, so let me give you a story. There was this baker, and I got this out of a book that I'm actually going to give this lesson that we're all going to learn from today, that was great at baking and great at cooking and baking the things that everybody commended her on baking. And so her name was Sarah. And so what happened, Sarah decided, okay, I'll take all this advice and I'm just going to go in business because I can bake. I know how to do the work and bake. So about 2.5 years in, which is pretty much a phenomenal feat to be going in and doing this by yourself, there was the breakdown where it was too much going on that had to be done. There was no encounter for learning the accounting that had to be in place. There was nowhere for her to learn about the inventory flipping and keeping it up in place. There was no way, nobody ever told her about how to market this stuff. It was just too much. It felt like 16-hour days was just the normal. You're supposed to work 16-hour days. If you're in business, you're supposed to just work and work and work. Well, the reality is that's not how it's supposed to be done. And many of us, many clients that I work with, and I've also went through this at seasons of my life where I'm doing too many things. That is not the design of a business. A business is an entity unto itself. So the dilemma is, the dragon is that we have to do it all alone. that mindset is the wrong mindset. It's in some cases, if you're an anomaly, you're just a powerful entity and you can figure it out, right? But in most cases, if we're going to do something at scale, we have to embrace the concept of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a little different from solopreneurship because it's not about me, right? Even though I may have the skill or I'm the technician that does the work. One second here. Even though I have the skill or I'm the technician that does the work, the reality is that I don't have to build the business by myself. The question is, how many problems do I want to solve? What is that problem? In this case, if it was baking cakes, well, I can make 1,000 cakes, right? Well, do I only want 1,000 customers or do I want more? When you figure out how big of the problem you want to solve, you can decide how big of a team that you need. So there's 4 elements to break this concept of solopreneurship. And we're going to call it the entrepreneur. I want you to write these 4 elements down when you're building a business that I want you to approach. One is the visionary, and that's usually the person that has the big idea of the company, of the business. What are we doing? What problem are we solving? And then we're going to figure out what system or strategy that we're going to use to solve these problems. And anybody who's creative, like myself, you always figuring out ways to solve this problem or to make the system better or to tighten it up. But that's a gift in itself. The second part of this is the person that is the manager. Anybody ever heard this term? The manager's responsibility is to operate everything, to make sure the system that the visionary put in place is kept in place and it works, right? Somebody is making sure that the creatives or the strategy is getting done and making sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. Very important part of this, the business development. The third part is the technician. Now, this is the person that actually has the skill to produce the service or build the product, to do the work, right? The people that are baking the cakes, the people that are doing the coaching, the people that are solving the problem with the customer, the people that are making the product, the technician. So their gift is the development and the execution of the product. And then the fourth component that is necessary for entrepreneurship is the person that exposes the product to your audience, the marketer. This is the person that goes out and lets everybody know, evangelize that, hey, we have a product. Each one of these 4 are very important to the success of entrepreneurship or your business if you want it to scale. The visionary, the manager, the technician, and the marketer. Now, the problem is that we face that if you're in business as a solopreneur, the dilemma is you have to do all these things by yourself. And if you have to do them by yourself, this is where the 16-hour days and the overwhelm is rooted in. And then you want to quit. Well, the enemy's assignment is to get us to quit. Well, we have people that we are called to. We have impact that we have to make. And in order to reduce the resistance or to stop the frustration, you have to figure out, how can I build a team or gather myself with a collective intelligence and pull on people who have the gifts in area that I may struggle in. And so I don't have to learn every component. And to some capacity, you have to do all this to start in most cases. So you don't need to have all of this to go. But as you're learning to scale, I just want to plant the seed that you have in mind to become an entrepreneur. The business is an entity unto itself. And until we can walk away from it and not be responsible for every aspect, it will stay stagnant. It will stay at a state that will not scale to the place. And what happens is we will quit before we make the impact that we were designed to make. So get in a position that you learn how to build your team.
That is so good. That's so good. That's so good. So if we're going to scale, it's important that we're not doing it alone. So one of the things, Dave, that we put in the chat is a registration link for the people that have been joining with us so that they can register, so that they get updates, so that they're logged into the community, so that they're able to get access to the MBTS software the moment it is launched. And again, remember, the first 100, there is no cost for that software. So please make sure that you get that link. I think what we should do is open up for some Q&A David, because those were some
do it.
great concepts. We talked about imposter syndrome. We talked about accountability, and then positioning yourself to scale by overcoming the solopreneur trap, the dilemma of being a solopreneur. Let's see if we can
There's a
get
hand
some.
up.
Pauline has her hand up. Mr. Murray, we're going to go ahead and have her ask her question. Go ahead and unmute, Pauline. I think you're unmuted now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening,
Hey.
everybody, and where in the world you are at. I always love these. I always love these reminders. If you're in the coaching space, you know, this is definitely a refresher. So, you know, you were talking about imposter syndrome. Sometimes imposter syndrome can, like for me, my personal experience comes up when you get into the nitty-gritty of your business, when you are the visionary, you are the system, you are the manager, the technician, the marketer, you're doing all the things, and then imposter syndrome comes up from the aftermath. Not so, maybe you have some when you begin, of course you were probably going to have that, you know, but that aftermath, man, that imposter syndrome sometimes increases and elevates to a higher level, maybe because the capacity of the skills are maxed out, you plateaued, now you want to go to the next level, learn systems, and then you want to learn how to be a manager, and then you want to learn more on, you know, your marketing more. So you're doing all the things, spinning all your reels, running more and more in a circle, and then you look back in your life, and it's like, oh my God, I'm doing all this work, and I'm just spinning my wheels, getting nowhere, and then there's another level of imposter syndrome that comes in and be like, well, maybe business wasn't for me. At least I tried it. I'm burnt out now. Maybe I should quit. And then you try to get another win and say, no, I have to create systems and systematize my business and get into maybe some kind of leadership to be an effective leader to execute the systems properly.
So good, David.
So that was like an
Mhm.
Yes, you were right on point. You ultimately gave insight. I think when you go to that overwhelming and that plateau, if you're doing it all by yourself, that's in order to grow, you have to go to the next level. And synergy is the thing. As we are even here, collective intelligence is the route. How do you expand yourself by multiplying yourself, right? And then multiplying yourself with other people to take ownership that have a gift in the area that your company needs. And so, yeah, that's it.
So good. Anyone else?
Anyone else have questions? You can feel free to type them in the chat if you're shy and don't want to be put on spotlight.
That's so good.
I do want to see if, David, could you just real quick cover those 4 elements again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and give those to us so we can add them to the chat as well for those who might have missed it.
Sure. The 4 components of entrepreneurship or building your business is the visionary, then it's the manager who's managing the system, then it's the technician, the one that's doing the work, delivering the service, and then there's the marketer, the one who's exposing the problems that you solve to the masses, finding your customers. And that's each of these, that's all they do. They're creating, they're managing, they're working, and then they're exposing. And these are all perpetual things that whoever's assigned to do that, they can execute.
So good. Now there's a
Thank you.
person. Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
There's a person that I wanted to hear from because we had a chance to talk last week and the story was so profound. And it's actually Jesus Tamar. And I want him to unmute because it's you have had some extraordinary successes in life, and you've had the opportunity to achieve things that a lot of people only dreamed of. Give us a little bit of your background. You'll be our highlight, David, of a champion's life. Would you share with us a little about your background and then why it's important to be a part of a progressive community?
No, thank you, Marcos. I mean, hearing from you, the way you break it down, I mean, it makes it sound like amazing. But I just, I mean, a simple guy that came from Venezuela, my original country, 25 years ago. I was looking for to play baseball here, professional baseball, and I just came, with a dream just to, to achieve the American dream, actually. Um, my career lasts like for 6 years. Then I just start experience the real life because when you're in a sport, it's like a bubble. But when you get out that bubble, you start to see the maybe the dreams are not that easier to achieve, to accomplish without guidance, without the tools, without the right people, without the right connection. To make a long story short, I started investing myself, like a brainstorming by myself with people that are already successful to pick their brains and apply those strategy like we're doing now into the life, like a little steps, like this lady was mentioned about the discourage when you're trying to start something and you don't see the result. I mean, I put these pieces together. I find out a company, in network marketing. I start, with my little company. But the most important in the process to 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 start the business, the company was equipping with tools, with information. So they not only going to help me for that specific uh, season in my life, but it's going to be tool to apply in life, even with my family. So in that journey, I got the blessing to meet Mr. Marcos Murray. And I hear Marco in this conference in San Luis speaking. I mean, over 1,000 people, and he was breaking down. Do you remember when you make us close our eyes and you say, close your eyes and visualize receiving a monthly check for $45,000, and like I start to see it and to feel it, not just to repeat it, but to feel it. And that something happen when you have the mindset and you surround with the right people. And that's exactly what David was breaking down about the the imposter syndrome. Because when you surround with those people, then you believe. It's
Right.
easy for you to believe, and that's what this community. I mean, I just listening everything that you guys say, just to absorb as a sponge. And it's a blessing that we can hear every one of you to different experience on this group, because I'm pretty sure that people have a successful story here that, like you mentioned, and I finished with this, Marcos, on the intro, that was very, very, I mean, very excited, the intro. Don't think that what you do is just normal, something like that. Like, oh, you know what? I speak Chinese. I mean, no, whatever skill that you have, I mean, realize, I mean, that's your gift that for somebody else is like, man, I mean, you're amazing. So in this community, all collective helping each other, listen from you guys, be accountable to what you guys explaining. I mean, there is a great chance to succeed.
Wow, that's so good. I got to add something. I think sometimes it's these little techniques that are so good but you have to hear about them. So we get to what is the value of the progressional global community, that you get an opportunity to hear concepts that you probably wouldn't have heard. And what we're doing is collapsing time frames. So if your goal is to get to 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, 50,000 a month, whatever those numbers are for you, those are real possibilities. I have to share something, Dave, if I may, that's really important. It gets back to visualization. Before we got on this call, we were actually talking in particular about the power of looking at data, looking at some of your past success. Before I ever made any money, what I used to do, and this sounds crazy, but this is what I did so that I could expand my thinking. At this particular time, LaDonna and I were probably making about, I don't know, $1,000 every 2 weeks. It wasn't a lot of money. It was really tough 30 years ago. I would go to the ATM. Do you know how the ATMs, this is so crazy. Outside of some of the ATMs, they have a garbage can. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. You go to an ATM where you have to go inside of the glass. You pull up, you go inside, you have to get out and walk up to the ATM, and they'll have a garbage can down there. And the reason they had a garbage can there is because people, I don't know why they do this, but they throw their slips on the ground. What I would do, and this sounds so crazy, every time I went to the ATM, I would go into the garbage and I would look at those slips and I would look at those balances. So if I saw a balance on a deposit slip or whatever, 40,000, 50,000, I would take this sounds nuts. I would take the deposit slip, because you have to get your mind. Your mind is the greatest tool that you have, and it doesn't really try to decipher fact from fiction. That's why we have to be careful what we entertain in our minds, because our minds actually change the trajectory of our future. I would grab those deposit slips and put them in my pocket. And then during the day, I would look at them and look at these. These were unimaginable numbers. These numbers didn't make sense. Get something. That's why that concept of even going online and getting a blank check and then writing your name on the blank check and paying yourself $1 million and walking around with that check for $1 million payable to you, having that in your wallet. Your brain doesn't know. And what happens, your subconscious kicks in and you begin to gravitate toward the thing that you're holding in your mind. It's like meeting your wife. When you give her the engagement ring, you're not married yet, but something in your mind, you see the ring, you're moving toward a destiny, toward an accomplishment. So I'm going to encourage everybody to let's think outside of the box. There is one last concept, which is the people you associate with. There's a calculation that if you look at the 5 people that you are closest to, that you allow to speak into your life, and you take their income. So this person makes 50,000, this person makes 70,000, this person makes 100, this person makes whatever they make. You take the 5 that you allow to speak into your life, your income will become the average of those 5. So what we're doing in the progressional community is giving you an opportunity to partner with people that have achieved just crazy success in so many different areas, so that you can gather data from those people, and then those become the average, which should push your number up. You begin to think different. So now all of a sudden, just like today, we learned that imposter syndrome is a trick. We learned that accountability is good. We learned that doing it all is bad, and that we have to grow and expand if we're going to achieve the fullness of our potential. David, before we close, we have to get back to our next meetup date. What's the next date that we'll be getting together, and so that everyone can mark their calendar and maybe
March
invite a
1st. It's a Friday. We're going to use the same 12 Eastern. So we're doing these right now as we start every 2 weeks to get our momentum going. I think it increases our accountability and the ability to get our support that's needed. So March 1st, 12 p.m. Eastern, put that on your calendar and mark that date so that you won't put anything right there, right?
Yeah.
We also need to get to our now work. I'm just placing in the chat another form or link that you can go to, and you can copy and paste, because in 4 minutes here, we're going to be off this particular screen and copy it somewhere. But once you access it, it's going to go back to, I think a few people were able to complete this, identifying your vision. What is the vision? What is the next big thing that you are doing? And it's going to force you to make it very clear. Make it very clear. And then we're going to ask for a couple goals that are associated with that vision These things help us in the community know how to help guide each other, know who's working on what, and we can hold you accountable and support you in your process. So definitely copy paste that or open that and access that form and complete it.
So
Can
good.
you go ahead and add that in there or
It's in
into
there.
the chat?
Okay, I think it's placed
Okay,
inside.
perfect. It did come through. 11:56 a.m. Yes, everyone right click,
I'll post
save,
it.
post it in an email, send it to yourself. We definitely want your participation in completing the now work, because your participation is crucial to this benefiting you. And I want to highlight also what Dr. Jean, she can't make it. We are recording these videos, and so we should be able to send you a replay video. Dr. Hess, thank you for letting us know that March 1st, both Tanita and Dr. Hess won't be able to make it. If you're feeling any value from this, we also encourage you to share the links, text them to a friend, an enemy, someone you want to get closer to, a mentor, anyone who you think could benefit from this. Your participation, like I said, is crucial to it being successful for you, slaying dragons.
So good. So good. So this was good. Was there any in this last 60 seconds that we have? Is there anyone that wanted to just share an impact moment that you got out of this? And you would need to raise your hand in the chat.
While
And
we wait on that person, I did
yes,
scroll and see a question about how do you know how to build your team. The most important thing is, first, when you find the right people, is making sure that they are good at the area that you need. What is their gift? That's the first qualification. And then from there, it's all about the character of the person. Do you trust them? Do they value what they're doing? Do they take ownership? Do they want to work with you? What is their character? What's their spirit? And then as you begin to vet in court, almost like dating, a marriage, then you'll get that feeling of how to add. And if you're looking and calling these things already completed in your life, you'll see these things, your awareness will be open to gathering and accumulating that team.
so good. So good. Well, we made it down to the last 60 seconds. We want to congratulate each and every person that carved out the time. If you are working, if you work somewhere, just you want to make certain to ask for lunch at 12 noon on the 1st so that you can be there. Otherwise, we are looking forward to seeing you. Make sure you do the now work. Make sure you go to the website and register so that we have your proper contact information. We will have a beta testing link for those that want to get first access to the software. It is coming. It's robust. It's amazing. And you are going to be blown away. We're so excited about that. But until March 1st, we want to say thank you again. Remember, there is nothing that can stop you. Together, we will slay the dragons and you will achieve your goals and your dreams. Thanks again for attending.
Take care, guys.